All countries without exception that are part of the African Union are invited. Leaders of sub-regional organizations and integration associations on the African continent are invited. And of course, the leadership of the African Union itself. I have no doubt that, as in previous years, the overwhelming majority of states will be represented. I hope, including at the highest level. I read that such correspondence is taking place between the United States of the Islamic Republic and Iran through Pakistani intermediaries or through some other channels. I cannot confirm the adequacy of this information. We have not seen any proposals. We are trying to integrate into this negotiation process. We wish this process success. President Putin, in his contacts with American representatives, with representatives of Israel, recently receiving the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran in St. Petersburg, emphasized that we can play a constructive role if both sides are interested in this. Just as our position was decisive in ensuring success and reaching an agreement in 2015 on the settlement. The situation around the Iranian nuclear program. We then played a very important decisive role again in determining actions that would close the problem of remaining highly enriched and generally enriched uranium on Iranian territory. We are ready to do this now, especially since the nuclear aspect of the settlement, judging by the reports, judging by what we hear, what information we receive, it is coming to the forefront again. Our position here is very simple. The basic principle is that Iran, like any other state, a participant in the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, has the full right to enrich uranium for peaceful energy purposes. Everything else, how this right can be realized, how it will be limited, what additional guarantees, not switching the peaceful nuclear program to military needs, all this is subject to special agreement, as it was in 2015 when approving the UN Security Council resolution that approved the comprehensive plan of action to resolve the situation around the Iranian nuclear program. I want to say that this plan provided for additional transparency measures, additional control measures over the Iranian nuclear program compared to those traditional measures. With that set, Iran then made significant concessions, agreeing to more intrusive inspections by the IAEA. Now we have the same position as when agreeing to that document, that we will support any solutions that the directly negotiating parties are ready to accept. In this case, the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. If the Islamic Republic decides voluntarily, as a gesture of goodwill, to limit some aspects of its absolutely legitimate nuclear energy program, and if this allows achieving sustainable long-term peace, of course we will, like all other normal countries, only welcome this. But, I repeat once again, the criterion is the legitimate rights of Iran to enrich uranium for peaceful nuclear energy under IAEA control. This is an absolutely integral part of any decisions. But as for the Bushehr nuclear power plant, this facility has never been under any sanctions. It was excluded from the agreements on the Iranian nuclear program in 2015. And this does not concern anyone except the Russian Federation and the Islamic Republic of Iran. It is clear that other than moral influence on those who are fond of colonial and neo-colonial methods and try to live at the expense of others, we cannot exert but the moral political position of countries that are unacceptable to this colonial practice is very clearly stated in the relevant resolutions. I will mention, by the way, that colonial and neo-colonial habits are simply described as the desire to live at the expense of others. And these sanctions, which now literally flood all documents on foreign policy decisions of both the European Union and the United States, are primarily a tool that allows continuing to live at the expense of others, a tool of unfair competition in violation and destruction of all those criteria and principles of globalization that for many decades were primarily promoted by the United States itself, building the global economic, trade, and investment field primarily under its interests. As soon as on this field, according to their own rules, according to their own criteria, they began to suffer defeat. I have not heard that anyone in this organization called Eurovision recently commented on anything related to Russia. We cannot meet the criteria that now determine the participants of Eurovision, and which are truly criteria of blatant Satanism. We cannot, honestly. Therefore, we feel great in those structures that are BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, other multilateral associations with Russian participation, which, in addition to political issues, security issues, trade economic, investment, also deal with the expansion of cultural humanitarian, educational, and other ties. This also applies to musical events, sports events. More and more initiatives, including through BRICS, are aimed at conducting relevant events in the spirit of traditional values, in the spirit of cultural, musical, and other traditions of the peoples that are part of BRICS in this case, preserving and multiplying the art that for centuries developed in the respective territories. And Intervision was born precisely in the context of such an association of traditional art, countries that are part of the BRICS Association. Following the first Intervision, which took place in September last year in Moscow, our Saudi colleagues announced that they are inviting the next competition to themselves. The dates have not yet been determined. I very much hope that the consequences of the aggression unleashed in the Persian Gulf by the Americans, together with Israel, will not affect the plans to hold the second stage of this competition this year. We know that Russia in recent decades has been a strategic ally, a very trusting friend for the African continent. In relations with the Russian Federation in the field of defense and security, we highly respect this cooperation because it affects the training of military technicians in our sector. And he knows that today's world is a world that understands the great threat, terrorism, very guilty extremism. And we, Africans, need to support, mainly within the framework of rehabilitation. We hope that our technicians will be ready for any opportunities that may threaten our internal stability.
В контексте вот такого объединения традиционного искусства стран, которые входят в